pip, tally-ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London telling you amazing facts. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because that really helps me out. Now, today we are in Leyton. We're going to do a bit of a circuit around, all the way around. We'll probably end up back where we started. Leyton actually comes from Leyton. In the old days, in the Domesday Book of 1086, it was recorded as Leyton, which meant a settlement on the River Lea, because the River Lea, which goes out into the Thames, it was over there. And it was one of these 6 manors around these parts. Leyton was an ancient parish in the county of Essex back in those days. It wasn't until about 1856, was it? They joined the London Postal District. I don't know, anyway. Who cares? Look, I do like these. This could do with a lick of paint. I do like this, though. This is from King George VI. I quite like the logo of King George VI post boxes. What I particularly like about this one is that you get points for spotting the old stamp dispenser, eh, Simon? Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Look at that. You put your money in there. Not in use, it says there.
Well.
Pretty surprised to hear. But as a kid, you'd always check that to see if there was any cash in there. I remember that. Anyway, love those.
If you saw my little backyard, what a pretty spot you'd cry. It's a picture on a sunny summer day.
They've only had the underground here since the 1940s, but there has been a train station here since 1856. Back in those days, it was called Low Leyton, part of the Great Eastern Railway or something. But then they changed it in 1868 just to Leyton. You can see down here where the road used to go. People used to just go along there, and then there was a level crossing where the gates came up and you could drive across. But then they built this bridge in 1879, so that got scrapped. Yeah, Simon, you're after a job, look. Drivers urgently wanted.
Oh, okay.
Mini cabs.
Yeah.
Eagle mini cars. It's quite a rarity to see a mini cab firm these days.
Yeah.
Because of Uber, you hardly ever see them. So actually, that's quite. I think you should get points for spotting mini cab firms. Now, this isn't particularly delightful, this route down here, but we're going here anyway.
Looks quite nice to me. Looks good.
What, the retail park? Not very picturesque, I'm afraid. We're in Leyton Mills retail park, which actually used to be a railway yard called Temple Mills. I think that came from the time when the Knights Templar had this area over here. They owned a mill over on the River Lea, so it was Temple Mills and then became Leyton Mills. As if you cared. It was heavily targeted in the war. It got bombed and there still exists. It's smaller. They repair a lot of the Eurostar trains, high-speed trains and stuff over there somewhere. But this whole area was known as Ruckholt Manor. Back in the times of the Domesday Book, it was 1086, wasn't it? It was held, back in those days, by Sweyn the Swarthy. And later on, I mean, the manor house was up that bank there. Anyway, when this manor house here was owned by Michael Hicks, he was the secretary to Queen Elizabeth I's chief minister, and Queen Elizabeth I came to visit Leyton, would you believe? After which, this was in 1597, after which Hicks wrote, "The resplendence of Her Majesty's royal presence and princely aspect did on a sudden so daunt all my senses and dazzle mine eyes, as for the time I had use neither of speech nor memory." Anyway, it was demolished in 1755 and eventually became this beautiful surroundings which you see before you.
It's an improvement.
I mean, it's pretty handy actually having the Next and the B&Q and everything. But
yeah, having the B&Q and the KFC.
It's not. It just doesn't look that great.
With the turnip tops and cabbages, what people doesn't buy, it makes it on a Sunday look all gay.
It's a slightly odd place for one of these display boards, don't you think? It's like showing you. I mean, you get these on top of, I don't know, Primrose Hill or Parliament Hill and places which have an amazing view of London, and I'm finding myself looking at a tree, a Leyton sign, and some sort of...
Yeah, because once that's in bloom, that's it. You'll only see the tree.
A road. Yeah, exactly. The summertime. You say, what can we see here? Ruckholt Road footbridge. Well, that's that. 1 Canada Square. Oh, that's what that is over there. But oh, so these are Eurostar trains. Oh, that's what's going on over here. New Spitalfields Market, that thing there. You see, there I was, bad-mouthing this sign, but actually I find that quite interesting, Simon. Look at that. Leyton Bird Boxes sign. Oh, they're bird boxes. I think birds can actually go inside them, yeah. The Leyton
Nest.
sign. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, those buildings, I don't object to them per se. I think they're quite nice, really. But the trouble is, there are so many of them. I mean, you see them all over, well, it's certainly East London, but not even necessarily in London. Virtually everywhere.
Across the country, yeah, that's pretty much the look, isn't it, now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you could be anywhere.
The neighbours thinks I grows them and you'd fancy you're in Kent or at Epsom if you'd gaze into the Mews.
Look at this, Coronation Gardens, London Borough of Waltham Forest. So that's where we are these days. Look how beautiful it used to look. But it's all laid. I mean, no, it probably looks the same.
It still is beautiful.
Yeah, I know, but the surrounding buildings looked so much nicer back then.
Yeah,
But this was laid out in 1902 for the coronation of King Edward VII, hence Coronation Gardens. It's actually a part of Epping Forest. But Epping Forest covers this whole area, but this bit still is grass from the original Epping Forest. This is amazing, Simon.
You mean a maze?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it's a maze. Or a labyrinth, if you like. But it's not a very difficult one to get out of, because you can
Especially
see...
for someone of your height. Yes,
you
for
can
little
just
people.
see where you're going.
Like Pac-Man, isn't it? Actually, I'm a bit lost. To get out of it. Have we got time? And look at this fella here. Look, Laurie Cunningham. He was in fact the first black player to represent England at senior level. So he was actually called up to the under-21s. And he also the first British player to play for Real Madrid. But the reason why he's here is because he used to play for Leyton Orient originally, which is just over there. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about his shorts. They're a bit short, aren't they? Yeah. He might pop out if he's not careful. See, what he's wearing there is a good old pair of proper black football boots. Yet none of the players wear those anymore. They're all like bright orange or, you know, and I know you can't tell what colour these are, but they would have been black. Like the ones we used to wear when we were kids. Bronze, though.
No, exactly. But now all the players, they just wear like yellow, orange, fluorescent, crazy colours, anything except black. If I was a football player these days, I would wear black football boots just to stand out. You remember when you used to tie the football boots and you'd tie them underneath like that?
Yes.
Oh man, and that bit would get so muddy and your fingers would be so cold trying to take them off at the end of the day.
Oh.
And this bit would start flapping off, and because you stuck them in the bag and then they'd stay in your plastic bag for the next week and just getting all kind of mouldy and nasty. Sometimes they'd stay in there for ages till the next season. You never cleaned them, of course.
It's the sound of everybody going into the changing room, the racket that it would make against the floor. Yeah.
Oh, that brings back memories, doesn't it? There you go, look, the Borough of Leyton. So this is an old borough sign, because you know when we entered, it said that it was in the Borough of Waltham Forest. I guess that must have been in 1965 when they amalgamated all the various boroughs. So before that, this was the Borough of Leyton. So this is an old sign, and the motto of Leyton was Ministrando Dignitas. From your Latin, Simon? Dignity in service.
Okay.
So I suppose they were boasting about all the service they provided. I think they were very famous for trams around here and things like that. I don't know. It's rather nice, that. I'm glad they've kept that.
It's a wonder that the landlord doesn't want to raise the rent because we've got such knobby distant views.
It's kind of interesting the way that it's just like plonked right amongst all the houses, a bit like how Highbury used to be, the Arsenal Stadium. You're just walking down all these residential streets and boom, all of a sudden.
Yeah, because they've got a really good view, haven't they, from their balcony?
Leyton Orient were only ever in the First Division once, so it's before the Premier League in the 1960s. It was called the First Division, just for one season, I think. They managed to beat Manchester United and West Ham. I bet that one went down well, because West Ham were fairly local to here.
Oh, it really is a very pretty garden, and Chingford to the eastward could be seen. With a ladder and some glasses, you could see to Hackney Marshes if it wasn't for the houses in between.
Joolz guides wouldn't be a Joolz guide without some almshouses. These date from 1885, but the first ones here were put in 1649 by a fellow called John Smith. Cost of John Smith, Esquire, of this parish. He was one of the joint purchasers of Leyton Manor. He bought the whole of Leyton Manor. Unless I've got that wrong. I can't read the Roman numerals. But yeah, 1649. What happened in 1649, Simon? How's your history? That was the year that King Charles I had his head chopped off. I do like these almshouses, and I expect there's still almshouses today for people, I don't know, needy, retired, fallen on hard times, you name it. This is a lovely church, isn't it? Look at this. St Mary's must be the parish church. And there's been a church here where they've got records dating back to 1200, although this one isn't from 1200, although parts of it are actually from the 17th century. Bits inside, but most of it is from the 19th century, but it was rebuilt in the 17th century and certain parts survived. They've got some nice effigies of the Hicks family that we were talking about, who lived at Ruckholt Manor when the Queen visited. And they've got these Leyton parish account books. It says, paid for the cost of physically evicting 4 pregnant women from the parish because they were likely to become a financial burden on the local taxpayers. In fact, there's another one from 1733 that says, paid for the medical care and nursing of a woman who gave birth while being held at the village stocks. If a poor pregnant woman, unmarried or something, she was about to give birth, they'd try and push them out into another parish so they wouldn't be their responsibility. That bit on the top, the cupola, it's called, with the clock on it, that was originally on the Great House at Leyton, it was called. We'll come to that in a minute. That was put there in 1806 when they knocked down the house over there. So I quite like that. So I'm glad that because it was a very famous house, as we shall see. Now you may think that I'm going to talk about this house here because it's a nice old looking house, Clifton House, but no. We're here on Church Road, same road as that church there we just saw, but number 28 there is where Frank Muir used to live. Frank Muir from Call My Bluff. Do you remember Call My Bluff?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Bluff.
it's in my head now. Yes, the older chap.
Yeah, but he was a comedy writer.
Right.
I mean, he was actually, he did a lot of writing with Dennis Norden. But he left school very early, I think, at age 14. He was actually from Kent, but he moved to here and left school when he was here. And he actually sounded quite posh. A lot of people thought he was very posh and well educated. So they always used to say to him, oh, you must be an Eton boy. And his reply was, no, I was educated in E10, not Eton. So it's in East 10, the postal district. Funny guy, wise guy. Those buildings over there, Simon, they're called Wallala Parade, the multicoloured buildings over there.
Oh, yeah.
Camille Wallala is the name of the artist. So she's got places like that. There's also ones in Shoreditch and White City, so it's not just there that they've done that. I suppose it spruces the place up a little bit. You see, that's nice, what you get in these areas. Interesting shops, look at that, tent makers. And actually, because these days, you'd probably just expect them to be online, you just go online, but there's an actual store where you can see all through the window there, all the canvas or whatever it is that they use. Look, 1909, so this was the Stratford Co-operative Society. They were actually founded in 1862. We've seen a lot of these cooperative societies. We saw one in Walthamstow. Was there one recently in Stockwell? Anyway, you can tell the beehives, that seems to be their symbol. Because, one bee is useless alone, isn't it, Simon? One bee can't do anything, but working together as a community, bees thrive. I think in those days they had things like department stores and things like that, but the only thing that really survives these days are the supermarkets. But they're rather nice, those. They merged in the end with the Edmonton Co-operative Society and became the London Co-operative Society, the biggest one, I think. This place here, Sahara. Do you remember Amir Khan, the boxer? He had this £70,000 watch, and some people must have seen it or something and just seen that he was at this Sahara Grill, and they came down and they robbed him at gunpoint of this place. It was quite a traumatic event for the fella. And then what was weird about it was that the gunman got 7 years in prison, but then the guy who drove the getaway car got 9 years in prison. I'm not sure why. That's a bit weird. I think it's because one of them pleaded guilty and the other one didn't, so you get a reduced sentence. It's odd, isn't it, that the gunman had less of a sentence. Anyway, right there.
What kind of watch was it? Like a Rolex or a Patel or whatever? Casio.
It was one of those little ones with the with a calculator. No, Frank Muller, it was called.
Right, okay.
Frank Muller, 70 grand.
Yeah, well, Bill Gates, he wears Casio watches.
Does he?
Yeah.
What, just a little dodgy kind of digital watch?
No, I think they're a little bit more, I think they're like $70 watches.
Oh,
they're not, well, they're still a cheap watch for a billion.
Yeah, not $70,000.
There's the bunny shares its egg box with the cross-eyed cock and hen, though they has got the pip and him the morph. In a dog's house on the line post there are pigeons 9 or 10, till someone took a brick and knocked it off.
That's the old, the church that we went to earlier, Mind Your Step. They used to have a vicarage here. It was in the 1500s or something. It was rebuilt in the 1600s by a guy called John Stripe. That's why that building there is called John Stripe House, as if you cared. But the only reason why I was saying that was because it's interesting that they had the stocks there, the parish stocks and the whipping post.
Really?
That's where it used to be, just outside there. So, no, that's the pillory, that one. The stocks is the one where you have your feet in it. So that's where that woman would have gone into labour, which they tried to get rid of. I was talking about at the church. Where did you learn that, fool? Not in the stocks, fool. Look at how modern this is, Simon. Look, it's got a solar panel on the top there. I don't know what the solar panel is operating. An electric post box. How remarkable. Here we're on Jesse Road here, just opposite the cricket club. This building now, Walnut Tree House, I think it's Walnut Tree House, not Walnut Tree House. This is the oldest house in Leyton. This is actually built in Tudor times. Some of the interiors, the beams and stuff, are from interior times. And in the 19th century, the future Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli, he went to the school which briefly operated here, and he was expelled for fighting with another kid. He was annoyed about the fact that his brothers went to a posh school called Winchester College, and he didn't see this as quite as salubrious. Salubrious, is that the word? Anyway, so he was a bit annoyed about that. Later on, it became the Conservative Club, rather aptly. And now it is a mosque of sorts. I think it's a mosque anyway, yeah. But yeah, it doesn't look that old, but you can kind of get an idea of how wonky it is and everything. Look at these. I guess these must be walnuts to refer to the Walnut Tree House. How about that? I like the things you notice. Is you keep your eyes open, Simon. Keep your eyes open. You spot like interesting little things like that.
The dust cart, though it seldom comes, is just like Harvest Home, and we mean to rig a dairy up somehow. We'll put the donkey in the wash house with some imitation horns, for we're teaching him to moo just like.
Look at this. This is Leyton Sports Ground, and Leyton Cricket Club was bought by Essex Cricket Club in 1886. So this used to be the Essex Cricket Ground, Essex County. But before they moved, that pavilion over there was designed by Richard Creed. He's the same guy who did those almshouses that we saw, 19th century. It's listed building there. It's terrific. It looks like it's mostly football pitches now. But I like that pavilion. And just opposite here, right, on the other side of the road here, look, this is just a normal house these days. But there's a plaque on the wall there that you can see.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's where we saw the cupola on top of the church earlier on. That originally sat on top of Leyton Great House, which was here, and it was apparently a really grand, wonderful building, built in 1712. It's a pity because it was destroyed in 1905. C.R. Ashby in 1894, who set up the Committee for Survey of the Memorials of Greater London, which guarded against the loss of historic buildings, he wrote an introductory note, and he mentions Leyton in the neighbourhoods as an example of these areas which are being ruined. He says, the Leyton neighbourhood is being spoiled by the immense inrush of the population of Greater London. The growth of dreary, ugly streets, slums and wildernesses of brick. there is nothing left in Leyton that comes up to the great house for beauty. So he's saying there was the great house here was the most beautiful place in the whole of Leyton. I know of no other house so near London in such a splendid condition. Well, it's sad to say he was going to be very disappointed, because that too was going to succumb to the urban sprawl, Simon. But I actually think those houses are rather nice.
Yeah, they've aged well, haven't they?
And they got a lovely view across the cricket pitch here.
You know what I don't approve of?
What?
The way they do the windows in some of the, you know, like you get an arched window, they just lazily put like a normal squared off window in there.
That is
some
lazy.
Of them are, some of them.
Yeah, some of them are arched. That one's got an arch.
Yeah, some of them do make that effort. I guess that's what it used to look like originally, the window frames,
Yeah.
wooden sash.
Do you think they're in the process of taking that out and replacing them with the... They're more energy efficient though, the new ones, Simon. It's not as nice. You sound like that fellow who was complaining about the great house.
Oh, it really is a very pretty garden. An end to the westward could be seen. And by clinging to the chimney, you see all the way to Wembley. If it wasn't for the asses in
This is lovely though. This is from 1939. This is the old police station. Yeah, it's like look. So if we come up here, let's have a look at who we got here. Oh, there we go. We got some. I mean, he looks like a night watchman or something. I think one of them's a. What do they call a peeler? Are they called peelers in those days? The old police, and yeah, it's all various. A lady police constable there, man directing traffic, terrific. MP, Metropolitan Police.
I like the steps.
You'll be amazed to hear that it has now been turned into flats, which is probably quite handy actually, because the upper stories were originally intended for the married residential quarters for the police. So I guess if you're a married policeman or woman, you could stay up there. Then now they just had to. It was quite an easy transfer into turning them into flats, already kitted out.
Though the gasworks isn't violets, they improve the rural scene. From mountains they would very nicely pass. There's the mushrooms in the dust hole with the cowcumbers so green. It only wants a
All of a sudden here, Francis Road, you've hit this kind of controlled zone, I guess they have, where the cars aren't allowed to drive at certain times. All very, how would you describe it? It reminds me a little bit of Walthamstow Village. All of a sudden you've got these kind of fancy cafe macchiato, cafes which also double up as, like it's a record shop that sells coffee. It's kind of unusual. It's the sort of thing you wouldn't really get on Leyton High Road, I don't think. What does it say, Simon? Leyton something... something council? Wait a minute, is it, yeah. Anyway, yeah, you know, when you see these little passages here along here, I think this is where, so we're on Newport Road, I think this follows the route of the Filly Brook. So this is one of those underground rivers. If you put your ear to the ground, somewhere along this route, you do actually find one of those rivers called the Filly Brook.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Do you need the telephone at all? I haven't seen one of those for a long time, have you?
So to give an idea, Simon, of the diversification of this area, this is, look, see, they've got Christchurch Leyton there.
Yeah.
Then this next door is a Gurdwara, the Sikh kind of temple, I guess. I think that was bought from the church. I think that was their church hall or something.
I see, right.
And then right opposite there, you've got the Islamic Sharia Council. You see, and they are. That's on the Google Maps. It says that's the Fatwa Committee. They're like a leading. They started in 1982. They opened there, and it's one of the leading bodies in Britain. I think one of the most prominent bodies for mediating on Muslim family matters and legal and religious rulings on Islamic law. Marvellous. The Northcote Arms, a fond memory I have of this, waiting for my friend. It's a pity it's closed. The pubs are always closed these days in the daytime, but this is they've got a Meridian running through the bar here. So I guess what way? So that's north, isn't it? So I guess if I'm standing about here, I'm in the Eastern Hemisphere. No, I'm in the Western Hemisphere.
That's right, yeah.
And then if I'm standing here, I'm in the Eastern Hemisphere. So this side is west, and I'm now heading east.
I wear this milkman's nightshirt and I sits outside all day like the ploughboy cove what's mizzled o'er the lea. And when I go indoors at night they don't know what to say, 'cause my language gets as yokel as can.
I've actually been here before in one of my videos. This is St. Patrick's Catholic Cemetery. I mean, it's massive. It's from 1898 it was built, but look how many people there are buried here. Mary Jane Kelly, who is the last victim of Jack the Ripper, or the last known victim, the one who was really, really horrendous, I mean, even more horrendous than the other murders that he committed, she's buried in here. But do you know who else is buried in here? Do you remember when we were in Putney and we were talking about Timothy Evans, who was wrongly convicted for the Rillington Place murders, of John Christie murders, and they actually arrested the other guy who lived there and they sentenced him to death. It was really tragic. Anyway, he's buried in here as well.
Oh, really?
So the only two people that I could find who were famous buried here met very tragic ends.
Yeah, it was horrible. He was hanged, wasn't he? He was played by John Hurt in the film.
Yes.
The old 60s film.
My mum's ex-boyfriend, yes.
Oh, it really is a very pretty garden, and the soapworks from the housetops could be seen.
This is nice. These were built by the Leyton local board. They were their offices in 1883. But then that became the Urban District Council in 1894, and this wasn't really big enough for their offices, and they built a town hall next door, which is rather nice, isn't that? Nice one there. Pevsner, the architectural guru, he described this town hall as being fussy but enjoyable in an eclectic Italianate style. The town hall has now become the pub, which is where we're going to go.
If I got a rope and pulley, I'd enjoy the breeze more fully.
Cheers, Simon. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like the videos. And if you want to know more about me, you can head over to my website, joolzguides.com, where you can leave donations and buy merchandise and my extraordinary book. But above all, don't forget to watch more of my videos. See you next time.
If it wasn't for the as is in between.